Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're walking a very dark, very steep path, the mountain path, the architecture of self-becoming. Imagine, if you will, standing at the base of a jagged peak as a weary wanderer. The air around you, heavy with an ancient, suffocating mist. We're diving deep into a grim, dark Gothic narrative today, a real fable of the psyche. It's a journey of the mind, seen through the eyes of someone who suddenly realizes the ground they're standing on is quietly rotting away. Let's take a hard look at the reality of the valley we're desperately trying to escape.
There's this stark truth we absolutely have to face. Quote, most souls remain caught in this web of equality, choosing a life that is flat and sterile as a tomb over the dangerous pursuit of the heights. It's a profound, honestly, almost unspeakable tragedy. So many are just trapped by their own desperate desire for suffocating safety. They huddle together down in the lowlands, wrapping themselves up in this collective mediocrity just to keep the terrifying winds of genuine growth at bay. They literally mistake a tomb for a sanctuary.
So what does it take to actually survive the mountain path and escape the suffocating safety of the herd? This isn't just some abstract philosophical concept. Have you ever felt that suffocating safety in your own life? That intense pressure to just blend in, keep your head down, and accept the quiet numbness of the modern world. Breaking out of that is a violent, necessary act. It's an epic psychological quest to escape a collective stasis that desperately wants to keep you small, predictable, and safely anesthetized.
Section 1. The City of Silt. Escape the Gilded Hollow.
Let's examine the architects of this prison. The Gilded Hollow is this oppressive theater where literally every single breath feels managed. On one side, we have the superego. Imagine a high judge sitting up on a throne of rigid legalism, bathed in this sterile, airless glow. This judge uses laws and precedents as psychological bandages, basically to mask a deep, fundamental anxiety about the unknown. But beneath the floorboards of all this institutional order lurks the id, personified here as Von Nix, the tarantula. The tarantula is fueled by subterranean hunger and pure resentment, spinning a web of gray silk to bind the restless spirit.
Because of this, the psychic landscape is trapped in a precarious stasis. The ego has basically failed to mediate between the high judge's dead laws and the tarantula's resentful hunger. And because of this fragile internal architecture, individual growth is actually pathologized as a threat to collective peace. If you try to climb, if you try to become something more, you're immediately labeled a threat. You disturb the web, right? It's a stifling collective mediocrity enforced entirely by guilt and fear.
Section 2. Severing the Gray Silk. Departure from the herd.
This brings us to the ascent of becoming. This is the vital turning point. It is the absolute rejection of that suffocating safety, choosing instead to cast off the heavy chains of logic and old rules, embracing sovereign autonomy to reach a higher consciousness. Imagine the wanderer taking a heavy hammer to the old laws, shattering the stone tablets that kept them bound to the city of Silt. The ego is finally claiming its sovereign autonomy here.
So here's the anatomy of that departure. Step 1. Clinical detachment. You have to clinically detach from the herd's petty comforts and walk away without looking back. Step 2. Sacred solitude. You enter the desert silence, which is honestly the only teacher capable of guiding the soul to its own light. Step 3. Sublimation of primal drives into the fire of self-creation. To have true freedom of mind, you have to walk the earth as a stranger. No fixed star, no map, just the necessary crucible of isolation where you forge your own path.
Section 3. The Ascent of Becoming. The Glorious Inequality.
The true wanderer embraces the relentless ache of becoming as a labor pain of the soul, actively rejecting the equality of flatness. You have to proudly declare your refusal to be caught in the tarantula's gray silk. Let the herd have their flat equality. The wanderer accepts the scars of the struggle, knowing full well that the soul has to stretch to its absolute breaking point before it can truly fly. Every muscle tears, your lungs burn in the freezing air, but the climb just has to continue. Every step upward is a confrontation with the venom of envy, which the creative ego sublimates into a vision of reconstruction. Think about the high judge, the red judge, who only seeks sterile retribution and punishment. The wanderer doesn't do that at all. The wanderer uses that venom, the envy from the valley below, and the raw energy of the climb itself to forge something genuinely magnificent. They use the struggle as raw material for their own architecture.
Section 4. Facing the Eternal Return.
the shadow on the Black Ridge. Now, let's see how this confrontation actually builds on the Black Ridge. First, you have Cycle 1, the repressed past, this heavy shadow that pursues you up the mountain. You can't outrun your own history, right? Then comes the Minute of the Serpent. The demon's whisper slithers up and introduces an infinite loop of sorrows, asking a terrifying question. What if you had to live this exact life, with all its pain, over and over for eternity? Will you break? No way. The wanderer looks at the demon, grabs the serpent by the throat, and defiantly proclaims to the cold stars, once more. You squeeze the serpent of repetition, and you break the loop.
This absolute triumph is amor fati, loving one's fate. It's the integration of your dark history as a necessary foundation for the great health, to transcend nihilism. Think about what this means for us today. How much energy do we waste running from our own pasts, our own anxieties? Integrating that dark history is the only way to build a real foundation. You look downward into the abyss, and you realize you aren't falling. You're actually witnessing the progress of your own growth, rising way above the valley's rot. By loving your fate, you transcend the nihilism that destroys those who are just too terrified to face their own raw core.
Section 5. Surviving the Jester's Void. The Maladaptive Ego.
Here's where things get extremely dangerous. The jester uses the void mirror to strip away facades, but offers literally no path forward. It just accelerates collapse and clears ground for the id's resentment. The jester perfectly represents the psychological void of the modern individual. Think about the endless cynicism we see today, that instinct to tear everything down without ever offering a solution. It's an inferno of purposeless reaction that threatens to completely consume the modern psyche.
Let's compare these approaches. The surgeon's knife of truth reveals the void, sure. It cuts away the rot. But the jester just stops right there. To that, I say, you show me the void, fool, but you offer no stones to build with. It's the creative architecture of the self that actually provides the illumination and the life force needed to fill that cavity with reconstruction. Truth without building is just pure destruction. While the jester mocks the symbols of order as hollow toys, the wanderer uses them as stones to build his own dawn. It's so absolutely crucial to understand this. Truth without a vision of reconstruction only births the monstrosity of the Red Judge all over again. You have to take those broken pieces of the old laws and use them to construct your own summit.
Section 6. Summit of Great Health. The Volcanic Crater.
Arriving at the volcanic crater, you are no longer just a wanderer. You are the joyful Argonaut of the spirit, standing far above the city of Silt, possessing a true sovereign autonomy. You've dragged yourself through the swamps of nihilism and now stand way above that stifling order. The air up here is thin, but man, it is pure. You're wearing shoes crafted from your own discarded certainties. You possess a sovereign autonomy that requires absolutely no staff and no high judge to support you.
Living in the great health means it must be constantly conquered. It's an active, daily state of being. The old sun of the superego has finally set. You're leaving the machine of retribution in the dust, embracing the horizon of the uncharted, and pushing off into pitch-black waves. What the herd down below feared as nothingness is actually the beautiful, wide-open sea of freedom. You push off into those pitch-black waves with a playful, completely sovereign spirit.
The ascent of becoming proves that the spirit of growth can never, ever be caught in the gray silk of a flat existence. The tarantula's web of equality is finally broken. The architecture of the self stands complete, built from the very stones of the struggle itself. So I want to leave you with this one final mythic thought. The horizon is completely uncharted, and the old sun has set. Are you ready to break your chains and brave the pitch-black waves of your own becoming? The mountain is waiting for you. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep climbing.